Welcome back to the channel. I'm Professor Will, your Director of Training. With me today is Jiu-Jitsu Brown Belt Carrington, and today we're going to show you pad holding 101. Check it out. So the first thing I want to talk to you about today is what we call a neutral position. If I'm constantly moving around, constantly keeping my hands up, Carrington doesn't know what I want him to do. That's the whole point of me holding pads, is I'm telling him what to do. So when I hold this neutral position, I literally just take the hands, put them on chest and stomach, and I leave him here. This way he knows there's nothing he's supposed to do right now. I'm not expecting any punches. But he knows now there's nothing he needs to do. If I wanted to throw his jab, which is his lead hand, we are both conventional fighters, so we both have a left lead. So I wanted to throw that lead left hand. I'm going to hold my lead hand up, just like this, and let him hit it. The key we're looking for here is the right distance and the right understanding of that distance. I don't want to do this to him because he has no extension on his punch. Conversely, I don't want to do this because now he's got to reach way past me. There's a good chance he'll hit me in the process. Put it right just in front of my face, not directly in front of my face, which we get reverb effect. That's not fun, okay? He hits hard. I don't want that bouncing back. My nose has been broken enough times. I don't need any more. So I put it just to the outside of my head and let him turn. That also makes him turn his hips, which is good. And now when he hits, I turn my hip just a little bit too, and I come right into the punch. We add our numbering system in with this, so I tell him 1. I tell him 2. That means I want to jab cross, so I give him this punch. I do the exact same thing with this hand, holding it up in the exact same fashion. And you notice that when I put this hand up, this one now goes away, so he doesn't try to hit it or it doesn't get in the way of his punches. So it would look like this with just the 1 and then the 1, 2. So I go 1, 2, 1, 2. Now when I want to add the hook in, I'm simply going to take this punch that was sitting here and I'm going to turn it this way. The key here again is I'm going to give him a little bit of my own body mechanics. Nothing we do is single person. Everything involves both of us. So when he punches, I'm not just sitting here holding pads like a robot. I'm turning my hips and getting that extra body mechanic repetition work in myself. So that's the good part of it. So when I want to throw this left hook, I give it to him flat in the face I want him to hit. And I'm going to turn my hips just a little bit. And he hits that too. So now we'll add that in. So we get 1, we get 2. Now I get 3, he hits jab, he hits cross. That's luring him up for the hook. And we turn. So again, we hit 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. We can add 4 in. That's usually just a second cross that comes in. It holds the same way, so we're not going to bother that. Just to give you a real quick view of what it looks like, it can be 4. Hits jab, cross, hook, cross. We can add 5 in, which is usually the jab, cross, hook, and then an uppercut at some point. When we hold an uppercut, I like to think of putting my hand in his eye line. The worst thing you can do for somebody to hold an uppercut is to put it down here. Oh, but I want to simulate him hitting under the chin. Absolutely. But the problem is look at the angle he's at now. And that puts his wrist he's got his hand wrapped underneath these gloves. These are really good gloves. So they support the wrist really well. But it's not uncommon for that wrist to bend, and now you've hurt your fighter's wrist. I haven't seen anybody break their wrist, but I've seen some sprained wrists out of this. So I put that up at about his chin level, so it gives him the ability to extend that. Okay. So anytime I like to just sometimes just give him those and just say lead uppercut, and I give it to him with that high hold, rear uppercut. I can tell him uppercut, and just hold the both of them and let him just kill him on. And again, I'm giving him a little bit of feedback. Just a little bit of push down, push back against the punch, just like we did for all of these. I don't want to push into the punch. I want to slap that punch just so that we get that same body mechanics and he gets that feedback on the punch. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, even 4, and 5. That's the simplest way we can hold pads with the focus mitts. So now we're going to show you holding with the Thai pads. Today we've got our cage side made Thai pads. Go to ToroBJJ.com, find the cage side fight equipment. It's excellent stuff. You get a 10% discount if you use code DORSET or the link in the description at the bottom. When we talk about punches with the Thai pads, the punches are the same thing. They don't really change. I put it up there, let him hit, give a little bit of response. The same thing with the hook. What can change on these punches now is that uppercut. Instead of holding that completely flat, I now have the option to just give it an angle, about 45 degrees here. Again, I like my hand at his eye line. It gives him all of this pad to punch. You don't want to do this down low because we get that same problem with the wrist and the shoulder that we're putting too much pressure on. So I can hold that at 45 degrees and let him hit it however, wherever he wants to hit that pad. That's all that really changes for that one. Here we can add body punches in. The body punch is great with the focus mitts. You have to be careful with focus mitts. When I hold a body punch with focus mitts, I have to look off the body or put your hand on the hip, because if you put your hand right there where you want him to hit, you're going to feel that. Trust me, I know this from experience. So I don't like to do those a whole lot with the focus mitts. With the Thai pad, it gives me that ability to do so. I take my fist, when I'm holding the Thai pads, by the way, don't put the thumb inside. Leave the thumb wrapped over with your fingers. You get when they're throwing into kicks and then we get into the knees, and that thing starts pulling against the thumb. That's probably why I got arthritis in that thumb. So leave it over the top. So this one I'm going to take, when I want him to hit the body hooks, I literally just put my hand on my hip bone, and now he's got that entire body that he can drive into, and I can do it on either side. And it just lets him hit that so that he doesn't have to, and doesn't hit me. If you put your hand in your kidney area and he hits that and he's thumping, it's just reverb effect. That hits the pad hits you, your hand hits you, and it hurts. So put that on your hip, that way he can unload on it. Go ahead and hit it. Oh yeah. And he can unload on those things. And I don't get any punch from that at all. If you put that on your hip when he does that, you'll know why we don't do that. So the punches don't change much. The same thing happens with the elbows. I do the exact same thing when we're hitting the elbows. I just have to get a little closer to him. And you have to delineate with them between punches and elbows. So I may tell him left elbow, right elbow. Nothing changes on that. Okay, left elbow, right elbow. Those are all the same. The uppercut elbows, raise the upper elbows. Same thing, I hold it the exact same way, just giving a little feedback, doesn't change much. The fun part about Thai pads is now we can add in the kicks. You can kick on focus mitts, but you can't kick hard. That's done literally for what they're called, focus. It's done just to get the placement and the right timing and the technique down. With these, you start to unload with the kicks. So if I want to hold for the push kick, the T, front kick, whatever you want to call it, I take one pad, usually because it's my lead hand, I take that one and I put it flat. I'll take the other one and pull it up. Now he's got this face that he can kick, and this part here that if he misses, he can hit as well. More importantly, that builds a buffer between there and me, or there and my groin. If he slips, misses the pad, and kicks me, he's not kicking me in the fun spot, okay? So I'll put that there, put it right here. Make sure you breathe, because if you don't, that's pushing against your stomach, it will breathe you. And harder. One more. So that's how we hold for the T. When we talk about the round kick, I want to give him a good face to hit with this. What I don't really like to do is I don't like to put them together and put it in the front. I've seen people hold this way. I've worked with people that hold this way. It's okay, I get it. They're getting you to bend the leg, pull the hip across. The problem I have with that is you don't really get a good hit. And for me, I've got short legs, and that usually means that about half of my foot is on this pad. Conversely, I don't like to be sideways and hit this way, because then you end up doing more of a karate, kung fu, taekwondo kick than you're throwing a Thai kick. So I split that difference, and I put this right here. Now, here's where the fun part comes in. Do I put the pads together? Do I put them apart? And the answer is, as always, yes. I can put both of them together and give him that to hit. I have issues with that, mostly because there's too much will in the way. I can't really get this closed as well as I used to. But I'll put it right there just like that, and it leaves that opening. And again, I give him that pad to hit. Just a little push. I don't want to push so hard that I turn this flat, because you're going to induce that kick to slide right off and kick you, or kick your leg. and I don't want to give him the wrong feel when we throw this. So if you want to push, think about pushing your elbows into the pad. So again, pads are in neutral position, just like this, and I'll give him the cue for that round kick. I can do the same thing with his lead round kick, and I don't care if he does the step, I don't care if he does the switch, doesn't matter to me. The hold is the same. When you're holding for this kick, you should feel that kick evenly across both pads. If I start noticing, just go slow-mo please. If I start noticing here that I'm getting too much on that pad, that means you're pushing that one too far forward. You don't have enough pull. You need to turn that a little bit more. And that may change per person. One guy may kick perfect the way you're holding it. The next guy's hitting too much this end. You need to turn the pads a little more to him. The next guy may be kicking too much on this pad. That means I got to turn the pad out a little bit. You may have to get the guy to kick 2 or 3 times before you really figure that out with him. But that's part of the beauty of the art of holding pads, is figuring that out and learning quickly how to give him his best workout. So again, if we go with the teeth, let's just put it, pull it in the top, give him that flat space to hit. When I'm going with the round kick, I give him the space here, and I let him kick that way. Doesn't change much when we throw knees for how we do the teeth. I've got 2 ways to do this. If I want him to have close knees, I put that across, and I pull it in, and I'm going to tell him to throw knees. I usually give him a number as I give him my head so he can clinch. That way he knows I'm looking for closed knees. And I'm going to hold this tight. Your brain is going to want to tell you, push this away from you. The problem is when you do that, you're going to really get this and it's going to hurt. And knock the wind out of you. Keep that tight against you, and when he hits, breathe hard. So I'll step into him and I'll give him a number, 4 knees. Okay? And again, go a little harder. 4. And notice when I'm in here, while I'm giving him my head for his clinch, I'm not just putting my head down. I'm keeping decent posture, because if I start doing this, number 1, I train myself into a real bad training scar. And number 2, I'm not giving him good pad control here. So I keep good posture so I can see it coming. We get 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? He can throw curved knees on this with this same thing as well. 2 options on curved knees. I can leave it here, to be honest with you, and he can just throw curved knees. He hits those edges of the pads. Or I can turn the pad a little bit and let him hit that. The key on that is you have to have good timing, and you have to understand his body mechanics as soon as he starts to turn for that curved knee, that I need to put that in the way. And that's all it is. Turn it, let him hit it. Turn it, let him hit it. Okay, so the last thing we're going to work on holding the pads on this one is I'm holding for a distance knee. The first one we did, we held it just like we did for the foot jab, and we were closing that distance for close work. On this one, I'm giving him a little bit more distance and space to work his knee. So I'm going to take that one that I want him to hit, and it's going to sit out, and the other one's going to fold inside of it, and I pull them both back against me. This gives a good buffer, because this knee's going to rally you a lot more because it has distance, which means it's got more velocity, which means it's got more power on it. And so I'll put it here and let him hit it. And the other. And I can even tell him, double up. Double up. We can combine these. So I can use the same leg, and I can tell him rear leg, knee, round kick. And it's really simple. Rear leg, knee, round. Again. On the lead leg. I can give him the option of doing them separate. Lead knee, rear round kick. Again. I can switch it. Rear knee, lead round kick. And you notice when I'm giving him those commands, I'm giving him the distance and space to do the techniques I've chosen. If I tell him to do rear knee lead round kick like we just did, and I stand in one spot, he gets no round kick because he's in knee range. I might as well just told him, give me 2 knees. So make sure you're giving them the right response for what you told them you want to see. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson today. We just want to do some pad holding 101 with the focus mitts, pad holding with the Thai pads. Obviously, there's a lot more involved in this. The big part of it is making sure you and your partner are communicating when you're doing it, that you know what you want him to do and he knows what you're looking for him to do. And that's where it can get confusing, that's where it can get muddled, and that's where the workout starts to fall off and we don't get our good technique, we don't get good training, we don't get good cardio work, and that's what all of this is for. So working with your partner, start slow, work your way up to speed. In the end, you'll be happy that you did. Don't try to push it too hard. Make sure you've got communication. If he's kicking too hard or punching too hard, I need to tell him, hey, you've got to back off a little bit. If I'm holding too fast, giving him too much at once, he's got to tell me, hey, you need to slow down. And that way we both make sure we get good work. Make sure we understand this is a 2-person drill. So when I'm holding pads, I'm still doing my body mechanics, not just standing still like rock'em sock'em robots. Make sure you guys check us out on all the social media platforms. Make sure you check us out at CenturionHoldingsLLC.net. You can always contact us at our email, CenturionHoldingsLLC@gmail.com. Check out the QR code right there, and we'll see you next time.